Welcome to the Eclectic Zoo, sponsored by Great One Asian. I'm HJ, your host for the evening, and I'm kicking it here with Shrooms. What's cracking, Shrooms?
What's up, man?
So, let's tell the people, who is Shrooms?
Shrooms is kind of a enthusiastic, rabid, melting pot ripoff of all the influences I've encountered throughout my lifetime, all the way coming up to starting to become obsessed with comedy, gradually getting into hip hop, and just evolving throughout the years. It's kind of like a giant vacuum that sucked everything up and then spit it back out as a combination of all the stuff I loved, obsessed over.
So, let me get this straight. You pouring a white ice cube and you jacking people for their, their swag, you stealing beats, you taking taglines. Like, what is it?
I like to think of it kind of, Quentin Tarantino gets a lot of respect, but also gets a lot of flack for taking things from other people. But to me, it always seemed like he was a guy who was so obsessed and so in love with the art of cinema in general that he just kind of sucked everything up. Every movie
Right.
that he ever watched, he absorbed it
Right.
and loved it passionately. And when you look at something like Pulp Fiction, you see like a kid who's had nothing but cinema digested and just spat back out in this beautiful like combo platter in a way that's both familiar and kind of fresh.
Right, right.
That's
So basically, what you're saying is, you basically got a pot of gumbo cooking for everybody. Okay, you did some some stand up comedy.
I went to a couple open mics. I remember being very disheartened the first one I did because it was just exactly the same situation as New York.
Now, where were you performing at? Like, you just were like out there as a street performer, or like were you at the mall? Like,
It was always clubs, even if
like with the Comedy Store.
I did
Improv.
Comedy Store,
Okay.
Haha Cafe. I think was the first mic I
Okay.
did. There wasn't too many out here. It was more in New York. I kind of petered out quickly. Moved on to some writing and other stuff, but I was disappointed by the fact that it seemed so similar, just the same type of people getting up, same type of jokes, same type of open mic. Stand up, you gotta love it to death because it's very dark, depressing, lonely place, and I can't think of anything more awful than a stand up comedy open mic. You really have to love it. You really gotta have dedication. And I love entertainment, but I think eventually I started to shift away from the stand up.
So basically, you got tired of the lonely, sleepless nights being a broke comedian.
I think what it was too, man, is like I always had that I had that that rock star energy. I wanted to go up there and just freak out. And you can't really do comedy. You need to have like careful, like approved, tried material. And one of the criticisms I started getting was, dude, you need to write your material more. And I would just get up and be like, "What's up, motherfuckers? Who came here tonight for some comedy?" And I would get some laughs just ranting and going crazy, but eventually I realized what I wanted to do was more energetic than what I think comedy would allow, and I really hated the idea of doing material. Which is funny because I don't hate the idea of repeating songs. The idea of repeating jokes
So
irked me.
So the Zany Shrooms guy decided, all right, you know what? I'm not really rolling with this comedy because everybody's pretty much biting off each other and hating on each other. And then you got to be like a carbon copy of the next guy that's supposed to be famous. You wanted to go ahead and break the mold and do something zany.
Zany. Excellent word choice. Yeah, it just, once I started getting more into the groove of doing shrooms the character, not the substance.
Remember, kids, say no to drugs.
Once I started to do that, it really seemed like a niche that I found and a good way to integrate the comedy as well to hopefully create a more original character. I call it more of an entertainer as much as I love the rap side of it, but hopefully the bigger viewpoint is an entertainer.
So, in a nutshell, you know what I'm saying? What does Shrooms hope to accomplish after, like, okay, let's say you got the money and you got the fame and you got the, women. What do you want your legacy to be?
Well, it actually, ideally, if I do it right, it ties into the name. Part of the reason I picked the name beyond just liking the substance was when I took mushrooms. To me, it was a very positive experience and showed me a lot of truth and made my brain kind of think in a way that I might not normally. And those are two qualities that
So,
I
let
think
me
would be
get this
amazing
straight.
to put
It
into
took-
art.
So social media basically fucked you up, but mushrooms turned you into being a righteous lyricist.
Uh, it was a personal revelation. I haven't met anyone.
Which we do not advocate, by the way. Hey, parental advisory.
I still haven't met someone who, anytime I ask about them, it's always met with hesitation and fear. And it's understandable. I'm not saying, it's not understandable, but I'm the only person I've met who seems to have this, like, dog-like enthusiasm for doing them. And the only person I've met who's never had a bad trip on them. And
we love dogs over here. We do. I got dogs.
Arf!
Yeah, we love dogs. I'm a dog.
I've never experienced anything but positivity from them. And the qualities that I've seen in them, I think would be a fantastic thing to bring to art. If I could entertain and get people to think a little bit differently that they might not normally, and if I can be painfully, brutally honest to hopefully maybe make us relate more.
Oh,
as
so
human beings.
basically, you're George Carlin, but with way more hair, and you're a rapper. Because you want people to think that you're crazy, but really you just want to hit them in the head and crack their brain open and give them something to think about so they can marinate and hopefully improve their social situation and be a better part of society. Now, what's the one wish, just wrapping up, what is the one wish that you could do if you could have anything you wanted concerning your music? What would that one wish be?
If I had to put the dream down into one thing, as a teenager, when you're at that peak of being obsessed with music and, your bands are like a badge you wear on your chest and you just see kids wear their band shirts to school and you're like, oh, that guy's got a Nirvana shirt, but he doesn't like it as much as I do, so I hate him. Just like a badge of honor on your chest. I suppose if I had to sum up the dream, it'd be that one day some angry little teenager in high school was walking around with a Shrooms shirt thinking that it means something. And he goes home and he's like, fuck school, but Shrooms is on. And I'll just, it's heartwarming. That would be heartwarming.
And there it is.
Buy my shit.
That's what his legacy will be. Shrooms. Hey, man. Thanks for hanging out tonight,
Thank you.
man.
Yeah, thank you.
You know what I'm saying? We got Shrooms in the house. Tell the people how they can find you.
Got a couple different ways. www.facebook.com/MasterClownShrooms. Follow me on Twitter @LooneyShrooms, LOONEY Shrooms. And www.reverbnation.com/ShroomsHipHop. Got all my songs and videos so far up on there.
So, definitely go through, check that out.
And make sure you check out the entire Great One Nation at www.facebook.com/Great18Pro. That's GR818PRO. Great One Nation.
And you can find me at dentllc.com, a.k.a. J. Jabril Wright II for HJ. Or you can find me on Facebook, J. Jabril Wright II, HJ. Or you can find me through Stack's page or Great One Nation. And I definitely like to give a shout out to Great One Nation, for putting this thing together for the Eclectic Zoo. Shout out to my sponsor, Johnny Ruggiero from Loco Eyes. You guys get to see my eyes for a second. Shout out to Super Shoes for, keeping me nice and icy. You dig what I'm talking about? And, shout out to Great One Nation. This has been the Eclectic Zoo, and we'll be coming back to you again real soon.